When you take a look at coming to Van Wert this weekend, my first question is, how'd you end up coming to Van Wert? What is it about the Great American Weekend that has you excited to be, in Northwest Ohio?
Isn't that crazy, coming to Van Wert for, obviously being with the fans, doing some autograph stuff and some baseball, and I've been out of the game long enough. I get to appreciate the little things like this, to where when you're playing, it's a job and it's a grind, and I now I can stand back and look, and it's like, hey, it's something cool to do this, to hang out with the fans and meet people and appreciate my career.
What do you most, when you look at your career, what do you most remember? What's like one moment or something that stands?
Actually, out there in the green room, we were talking about it. I was on the 03 Cubs team when the fan reached over the wall, and Moises Alou, and we ended up losing that game. And then obviously my 3 years with St. Louis, we were pretty good. And unfortunately for me, I lost 4 years in the playoffs. Didn't quite make the World Series, but I was lucky to be with some good teams and some good players and make some great friends. That's probably what I miss the most. Like you hear from everybody, is those friendships you make as you're playing, and that camaraderie in the clubhouse is what's missed the most. That
really leads to one of the things I really want to talk about with you was you played for Tony La Russa. What was your thought when he got the job with the White Sox, and how I think he's 76 now, meshes with a group that is really a young ball club?
I was happy for him. And I think, no offense to anybody else I played for, I think he was the best manager I ever had. Definitely a step ahead of everybody else. And I think with today's technology and Tony's mind, I think it's a great fit, because you take that extra data that you have now, along with Tony's gut instinct and baseball knowledge. I think it's a great blend. I don't follow it enough to see how they're doing. I think they're doing pretty well.
First place.
Yeah, but I thought it was a great ad, especially now when they're it's more of younger guys, fresh blood as a manager versus a veteran guy. With Dusty Baker's in there now, back in, and Tony, and so I think it's a good blend of technology versus old school.
You had Dave Duncan, I'm guessing,
yes,
as the pitching coach. So you got La Russa, who was the guy that, I don't want to say invented like the setup role, but really perfected it with like Rick Honeycutt leading into Dennis Eckersley back in the day, and then kind of did the same with you. You were the closer for, I think, 2 seasons for 31 saves.
I had one year in Colorado I closed, and then I went to St. Louis for about 2 years and closed there, and I set up for Izzy the next year. So
when you see the way that the bullpens are used today as opposed to the way they were used when you were a pitcher, what are your thoughts on the way that things have gone?
Well, first of all, I don't throw hard enough anymore to get drafted nowadays. I pitched 89 to 92 miles an hour, more of a control guy. But as a hitter, I'd hate it, because you're facing one guy every inning, throwing 95 plus, not really knowing where it's going. So I'd be afraid to dig in, because they're throwing pretty hard nowadays. But it'd be tough as a manager. I guess that new rule now, you got to face 3 guys, helps a little bit, but it's kind of taking away some of the strategy as it was in the past, lefty-lefty, righty-righty matchups and stuff like that, or a guy that can pitch both sides of the plate. I was a split finger guy, so I probably did better against lefties than I did against righties. So I'd be a good blend in today's game, to where I can face both sides of the plate versus, he's in for 3 right-handers, we got to get him out of the game. So I tell you, it'd be tough to manage that way, and because you run a different guy out there every inning, which is a good dilemma to have, I guess. But as a hitter, it'd be tough, just because you're facing a different guy and a different arm, and they're all throwing extremely hard.
That leads to my next question: is do you like the way that it's gone? Hitting has gone to basically home runs solely. That's the purpose of them up there, and pitching has gone to straight velocity, where you take a look at, I think the average fastball is like 94.8 miles an hour. It's like the highest it's ever been.
I think I'm 95 once in my career that I saw.
So like a guy like you that you relied on a splitter, relied on some guile and location, and knowing how to pitch a guy. How do you look at it when you see it's so fastball dominant, and that is 1A and 1B at this point?
I think I'm definitely a traditionalist, National League guy my whole career. I'd rather see a pitcher's hit. It's kind of taken some of the, not joy, because I still love the game, but I guess maybe I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but the learning how to pitch, setting guys up, versus maybe that's why hit by pitches are up, walks are up, strikeouts are up, because guys aren't being developed in the minor leagues like they were in the day. I spent 7 years in the minor leagues. Not that I should have been in the big leagues sooner than that, but nowadays guys are almost rushed to the big leagues because they throw so hard, versus develop first and then go to the big leagues, and now they learn how to pitch in the big leagues, which is tough. You got great hitters, obviously, and strike zone's a little bit smaller. I mean, just the game is so different now, to to where you're relying on being able to pitch, and they haven't really been taught that way. It's more 95 plus, and hopefully it goes over and don't kill somebody. I'd be scared to death as a hitter.
My last question is pretty simple, but maybe it's not that simple. Who is the best hitter you faced? Who's the toughest guy for you? I mean, some of the guys, when you talk to guys, it isn't somebody that you naturally think.
Barry Bonds, Piazza, Ken Griffey Jr. It's funny. Barry Larkin was a tough out for me. He played like 890 off me. He was like, 8 for 11 or something. He was a tough out, which he's a pretty good hitter. Yeah. So I'll take that. And it's crazy because, more contact. For me, contact guys give me a problem. Tony Gwynn, obviously, Craig Biggio, contact hitters versus Sammy Sosa or, more of a free swinger slugger type guy. I could nibble and throw my splitty in the dirt and they would swing at it. Except for Jim Thome one time. He got me for a game winner.
We won't.
Yeah, don't show that clip.
No. Anything else you'd like to add that we didn't talk about?
No, not really. It's like I said, I'm just happy to be here. It's fun to hang out with Dwight Gooden and Rajay and guys. It's funny on the way over here. I was telling Dwight, I said I wore number 16 in college because of you. He was Dr. K. Yeah. And I go, the sad thing was we're about the same age. He was my idol coming up, and he was a stud. And so it's good to hang out with these guys. And like I said, that's the best part about the game is those connections you meet, camaraderie. Even though we're never teammates, we were talking like as if we were teammates for 10 years, and it's kind of great to be able to do that and hang out and just rub elbows and, like I said, meet fans and kind of interact with everybody, especially at the last year and a half has been kind of crazy, and it's nice to somewhat normal, hopefully, if that's possible.
Hopefully.
Yeah.